Let's take a drive through downtown Newport Richey. Beautiful downtown Newport Richey. So, I've said a lot of deep shit on this channel, but one of the deepest things on this channel is actually its name, Saturn's return. There's a lot of meaning in a Saturn return, and if you don't follow astrology, in astrology, the planet Saturn takes about 29 years and some change to come back around to its original position that it was in when you were born, to the exact degree. Let's say that, like in my case, my Saturn is in Pisces. I think it was at around 23 or something degrees of Pisces. And then it's a Saturn return when it comes back around to that 23rd degree of Pisces. Now, Saturn is very rich with meanings and significations that run pretty deep. It's pretty much the deepest planet in traditional astrology. And it's called the Lord of Time, and it's called the Lord of Karma. And it's all about making sure that debts are paid. It's all about teaching you the value of working rather than playing. It's all about teaching you that whatever you do is going to come back around because it's the Lord of Karma. And so the meaning, the deep meaning of the name Saturn's return teaches you something about the non-duality of descending souls and ascending souls. This is what I hope to correct in the Chosen One dialogue a little bit, in the conversation of Chosen Ones. Because we're coming from a place of hurt. We're coming from a place of our own families attacking us, our friends, our schoolmates, our co-workers. And there's a raw human part of us that just wanted to have a friend and wanted to celebrate and have a good time and connect with people. And that raw human part of us is just burnt up. Brutally burnt up. I mean, we've been through so much, but it's just, you know what I mean? We kind of get used to it. But if you really think about it, it's like, oh my God, we've been through it, man. We've got like first degree burns on our heart. I can't remember which ones are the bad burns. I think it's first degree, and then it gets less from there. But in the process of this whole thing happening, we end up making all kinds of videos kind of villainizing descending souls. It's understandable. I mean, they're behaving as villains would, essentially. I mean, they're demonic. They're demonically possessed. It's what a demon is. But the deep lesson of Saturn is it shines a mirror on you, and it says, look at you, all high and mighty. This is what Saturn does, is it humbles you. Look at you, all high and mighty, thinking that you're God's perfect little earth angel, and you're attacked by the devil and all of his little demons. And then he says, don't you see that where they stood, you once stood? Don't you see that to be an ascending soul, you had to be a descending soul? And Saturn says to you, what, you think people harm you for no reason? You think that you're totally innocent and God would just let people harm you? It's karma. Yes, earth angel, ascending soul, chosen pure little snowflake of God. You have done unspeakably terrible things and you're being punished for it. Why is this? It's because in previous lifetimes, you were a descending soul. And this is the deep lesson, and I talked about it in my last video, is that descending souls are simply spirits that come from the original non-dual unity of God. They fragment, they differentiate, and then they come down through the various levels of reality, from the astral realm down to the physical realm, with various innumerable forms taken in between in a descending fashion, descending in consciousness, descending in unity, and descending in universal love that binds all as one and creates the failure to distinguish one from other. And so we were descending souls. So Saturn is so rich with these lessons. A Saturn return. It's the completion of a cycle. If you look at a chart, an astrology chart, every day a planet makes an ascent to a culmination, to a descent, down to a base point. And these are what's called the angles in astrology. It's the ascendant, and if your planet is on the ascendant, it's said that it's a rising planet. And if a sign's on the ascendant, it's said it's your rising sign. And if it comes to the mid-heaven, at the top of the chart, it's said that it's culminating. And if it's at the setting of the chart, which is opposite of the ascendant, it said that it's setting. And some would call the nadir, opposite the midheaven, to be we say contra culminating. And this cycle of rising and culminating and setting and then descending to the lowest point is reflected in every aspect of existence, including the transmigration of the soul that brings us here. So we do descend from that point of culmination, that mid-heaven, and then we descend to the descendant, and then we descend further to the basest forms of matter. This is the nadir. This is what's called the imam coeli in astrology. And this is kind of like the roots. It's like digging yourself very deeply into the earth. And this is what descending souls do. They rise from the heavens, the mid-heaven, down to the roots of the chart, which is the imam coeli, through a process of descension. To get from the medium coeli, also known as the mid-heaven, to the imam coeli, you have to descend through past the descendant angle down to the imam coeli, you see. But it doesn't end there. It rises again, back up to the ascendant and back up to the midheaven. This cycle is the transmigration of the soul. But Saturn also follows this path. Not just through the angles and the houses of the astrology chart, but also through the signs. The signs themselves are a cyclical journey. You see? We come from the heavens and we descend down to the lowest forms of existence and then rise back up like a phoenix from the ashes to learn what God is. And I already talked about this in my last video. But, point being, we are all souls that are part of this cycle. Descending souls and ascending souls are not different species. Although we would like them to be, because we don't like them very much, because they're very mean to us. But the deep lesson is that we were once descending souls before we began the process of ascending again. Our souls have been cleansed in hellfire. We have been so immersed in sin and so immersed in wickedness and evil and unconsciousness and decadence and sin that in order to begin the process of returning back to God, we had to be given consciousness again. And when consciousness meets our samskars, which is our sins that are engraved in our soul and brought back to the surface of our deep, eternal mind to be confronted, when consciousness returns, what else could it be than a hell realm we enter when we've created hell within ourselves? These descending souls. Look at the paintings that they paint in the blood of other people. Look at these artists of pain creating these paintings, these wicked, terrible scenes. You cannot create a scene without it being imprinted on your soul to be re-experienced. So we, in our torturous existence here on earth, chosen ones, it's because we were them. This is the meaning of the Saturn's return. To pay what is owed is karma. Those debts that are paid. And the deep wisdom of understanding that Saturn is a force that they call the seventh heaven. It's the seventh sphere of what we call the heavens. The heavens are the sky that we see above us, literally. And we look up and we know that Saturn is considered one of the greatest, highest divinities, closest to God. The further from Earth we go, the closer to God we get. And the deep divinity of Saturn is that through pain and through confrontation and through paying our debts, not only is it just this taskmaster that's making us pay our debts, but it's the great teacher. Saturn is the great teacher. It teaches you these deep lessons about life and about God and about existence. We are paying our karma, but it's not simply some crude mechanism of you did this, now you got to pay this. There's a deep hand of God. And I call the planets the hands of God because they're all different aspects of divinity. If you read the Bible, God has many different faces. He has a gregarious, sort of jovial face. But he's also stern and very disciplinarian. And he's also a proponent of love and the joining of man and woman. But he's also a proponent of war when it's and righteous wrath when it's called for. And he's a proponent of the intellect, and he's a proponent of philosophy and wisdom and spirituality and the intuition. He has all these different faces, and these hands of God are the planets, you see. And so we are facing this pain, and we are facing our karma, but the difference between a descending soul and an ascending soul is that ascending souls have the gift of learning from suffering. You will find as a chosen one that when you undergo a trauma, you become more conscious, you become more aware. Shortly after traumas, you have deep, powerful downloads of wisdom beyond your understanding and beyond you as a person. It's not you that thought these thoughts. It's as if it was beamed into your head after certain traumatic experiences. Please observe that this is one of the biggest signs of a chosen one, is the aftermath of traumatic experiences. If you are an ascending soul, trauma brings otherworldly wisdom beyond your station and beyond your level and it gifts that to you. A descending soul, when they experience trauma, they actually become more unconscious and less aware of what's going on around them. Chosen ones get downloads of deep wisdom as to the greater cycles of existence as a result of traumas. And so this is the difference. And this is the reason why you should consider if you should even attempt to be friends with the people of this Kali Yuga, these descending souls, like two ships passing in the night. Do you understand that these people are on a mission, an appointed mission, just as you're on an appointed mission, and that your goals are oppositional to each other? Do you understand that if you attempt to save these people in your life and to transform them, make them more wise, you're like a fish flowing against the stream? And where are these people going? It's true, we're all going to the same place, but it's the difference in time that matters. They have hundreds of thousands of lifetimes in the process of changing from a descending soul to an ascending soul. You guys aren't even in the same part of the timeline. That's the thing about chosen ones, is chosen ones are transplants in the Kali Yuga. I said in my last video that descending souls are native to this yuga. What that means is where their soul is at, they belong here. This is a time of degeneracy and dissension. But ascending souls are transplants. And if you transplant a cell into a foreign body, very often that body will reject the cell. It'll be an immune system reaction that attacks it. Because ascending souls don't belong in this part of the yuga, and yet they do, because there's still lessons to learn. But that doesn't change the fact that the state of the soul of the ascending soul is in deep conflict and dissonance with this time, because they simply do not belong here. They have achieved multitudes of forms of cleansing and ascension and purification that renders them a inappropriate fit for these times, and yet they choose to come here to alchemically work with these challenging energies to achieve even greater purification. Now ask yourself this: would you befriend the people of this time, understanding where they're going, understanding that your souls will not meet again for what almost seems like an eternity? Any work you put towards trying to help the people of this time is time wasted. It's their mission. They have negative polarity in their deepest aspects of their soul. That's their destiny. Just like your positive polarity is your destiny. It's your destiny to ascend, it's their destiny to descend. You can't change that. So why do you try to save this world? There's a time that you can't save the world. You can only save a soul. And you can only save a soul when it's time for that soul to be saved, and that time is not now. So do you understand? This is what's meant by Saturn's return. We return to the understanding that all debts are paid, including us chosen ones are paying our debts. And we return to the understanding that our life is not about play, it's about work and labor and a cross that we bear. Look at my profile picture. It's the image of Saturn. And look at that cross that we bear. Look at that cross that Christ bared. Saturnian imagery. If you study astrology and the planets, it runs very deep. Thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. and a nice little tour of downtown Newport Richey.